I was born in South America in a country called Guyana, and I moved to the States when we were just 11 years old. So one of the things that I think has kept me safe all these years has been religion. And I am now, well, have been for the past 15 years, a converted Jew living in New York. I'm married to an Israeli, and I have two beautiful kids, a boy and a girl. And so going back to how did I become Jewish, what made me transition to being a Jew? I was born to Hindu parents. My mom was, her background, she's Hindu, Indian Hindu, and my father also. We grew up in the Nazarene church, I would say, for a good 5 years of my life, going to Sunday school, learning songs and playing with the kids there. But that was a happy memory, I would say, because the Sunday school teachers would come, they would wake us up, get us dressed, get us in church, and it'd be a lot of fun activities. So that was a real joy, being in the Nazarene church. Later on, when my father left Guyana, my mom was left alone with 4 kids. And the Sunday school stuff, yeah, it was fun, but she sort of got involved with another group called Jehovah's Witnesses. So they were a lot more strict. This was Bible study. So every Thursday, a woman would come from the Jehovah's Witnesses, and she would sit and read the Bible and tell us about the world ending and how people should change. And my mom was really into this. And so yeah, we Bible studied for a good 4 years with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and that also transitioned when we came to New York and we were living in Brooklyn. We still continued with the Witnesses. I wasn't so fond of them because it was they were strict. You couldn't have like a certain, I think the lifestyle was restricted, and the things that they were teaching, it wasn't what my views were aligned. Even though I was just 11 years old, I know this is not for me. And so my mom saw that, us kids, we weren't getting it, and we wanted something else. So when we moved to Bushwick, there was a church there, Lutheran church. My mom, of course, went and spoke to them and got us all membership to this Lutheran church. And we stayed there with her. We would go every Sunday. That was more of, I would say they're very similar to the Catholic Church, the way they preach and the service and all of that. It was very close to the Catholics. And we were baptized and confirmed and went to church every Sunday. It was mostly something like my mother waking us up early in the morning, making sure we're there at 9 o'clock. So it was more of a chore, like not something you don't want to do, but you go because the entire family, they're going. And then you come back home and sort of felt empty when I came back from church. It was just, yeah, everybody's there, they're congregating, and then you come back home and go back to your regular life. Nothing inspiring. It was just something more routine. It felt just routine to us. And then by the age of 16, I just stopped going to church completely. I was more of a rebellious teenager, if you want to call it that. Didn't like what my parents wanted for us or the direction they felt we should be going. And so it was something that was missing. I mean, my mom wanted us to have structure. I guess having religion is having structure in our lives. And for me, it was more of, there's something missing. I need to find out more. And I think a lot of it came from the fact that my parents were divorced. It was more of a long distance divorce because my father basically left Guyana when I was 4 years old. And I didn't see him back until I was 12. So that had a huge impact on my life. It was missing a father, not having a mother there all the time because she worked a lot. As immigrants coming to this country, you have to survive, and surviving with 4 children, it's a difficult thing. I do have a stepfather that he was in our lives, but not so much as a father figure. It was more, I would say, as my mother's husband. He cared for us, but I still feel like there's always that missing father figure in my life. And I think what my mother tried to instill in us in terms of religion, it was, going to church and just being around people, not getting lost, like choosing the right path in life. I guess religion fulfills that aspect of life, like you have a path to choose, and I was still trying to find my path. Now, fast forward to when I turned 18, I was done with high school, was going to college, and I was completely out of our house. I moved out at 18. Only girl, oldest girl, moved out of my parents' house. And I was going to Queens College, and I had to take a couple of electives, and one of them I took was Intro to Judaism, Judaism 101. Now, why Judaism? Why even think of being Jewish? At that time, I was also dating an Israeli, really nice young Israeli guy who is today my husband. And so I took the class, and there was something about it. I asked a lot of questions, and something about it felt right, because what I was learning is that Judaism, it's a way of life. You're part of a community, what you eat, how you treat people, how you conduct business. It's all incorporated into your daily life. It's not go to church once a week. And yes, going to church, it's great. But again, like I came back lacking something. Now with Judaism, I was learning how to eat kosher, how to keep a kosher kitchen, how to, be even down to how to be a good friend, or what it would be to live in a Jewish community. That wasn't really the focus. It was that I found something that was guiding me, and I felt connected to that. My husband's family, they never mentioned once, hey, you have to convert, or there was any expectation of it, or any pressure to become Jewish. And it was something clearly that I felt in my heart that I wanted to do. And I studied for about a year, and finally, after learning to read Hebrew, because you have to learn to read the prayers, you have to keep Shabbat, there are a lot of different steps that you have to take. But one of the most important one is you get in front of 3 rabbis. They ask you what you've studied, why you're doing it, and they try to persuade you not to do it. And they tell you about the Holocaust. They tell you about Jews being persecuted around the world. And really, all of that was irrelevant to me. I think once you make a commitment to something and it's right for you and you feel it in your heart, you'll go ahead with it anyway. And I've always been that person. I go with my gut. If it's a feeling, if it's something that feels right, I'm going to go with it. And that day, I went to the mikveh and got undressed. And that's the crazy thing, like you get undressed, someone checks you to make sure your nails are clean, your hair is clean, your body is clean, you take a shower, and then you go in that water and you're completely submerged, and you come up and you say a blessing, and voila, you're Jewish. And I walked out of that mikveh that day feeling like a completely new person. Like someone just gave me that, and that someone was myself, really. Like I gave myself a new soul, a new life, and this is my future, and this is what I have, like a brand new thing to look forward to, and these are my choices and that I made. And that's where I felt my adult life started. And I've been part of an Israeli family for all these years. I met my husband 20 years ago, and we got married 5 years later. So this year we're celebrating 15 years of marriage with 2 amazing kids. And life has been a really beautiful journey. And I'm looking forward to everything that it has to offer. Every day it's a different adventure. And when I look back at my days in Guyana, it's sort of bittersweet, because there's something about being in Guyana that's calming for me. It's like going back to my home, going back to nature, going back to my natural environment. And it doesn't matter how long I'm in the States, whenever I go back, there's just a calming feeling. But it's also a feeling of, well, why did we leave? Why did our parents have to leave and come to New York? And I think that story began with the lack of opportunity, as my mom calls it. They were giving us a better life in New York. And to some extent, I feel the opportunity that I've been given is having given choices. And that's why today I could say, had I been in Guyana, I would never have followed my path, which led me to Judaism. And most recently, I traveled to Amsterdam, and the craziest thing, I sort of broke a huge rule in Judaism, which is you're really not supposed to defile your body. And I went ahead and I got a tattoo with a high on it, but it says life, and that's what it is. I'm living, I'm alive, and I live as a Jew, part of a community. I feel connected to people. I've taken my children to Israel. We have a huge Israeli family over there, and I've traveled, and I feel like everywhere I go, no one will even know and say, hey, you know, she's Indian, she's Jewish, she's Guyanese, she's American. But all of these things are within me. And I think my guide has always been believing, having faith, and that's my religion. My religion is being a good person and having strong faith and following my heart.